Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. In today's episode we are going to be starting the tape and jointing. But before I do that, I'm going to have a tidy up of the area because it's quite filled. We've got dust everywhere. Still got a bit more of the external cladding to do, but that I can do bits and pieces, whereas the tape and joint I kind of want to do as much as possible all in one go. But before I do that, I've got to tidy up some bits and then, clear everything out, and then I can get all my bits and pieces together to start the tape and jointing. What I'm going to be doing is doing tape and jointing myself and then seeing what the end result is like. If I'm not happy with it, then I will move on to getting a plastering to come and fully plaster and skim the whole property, the whole room. But essentially my outlays so far are about £40. So what we've got in this is we've got a plasterer's flexible blade. This is good for smoothing out. We've got a trowel, we've got our easy fill. Now I've got this in the 60-minute form. You can get it in 20, 40 or 60. I've got the 60-minute because I am a novice, never done this before. I thought it gives me more time to work and perhaps prepare the compound essentially. I've got my tape, which is paper tape, which we'll be using. I've got my bucket, got my clean water bucket, and then my bucket. Normally I think people use I think a hawk. I don't have one. I'm not going to invest in one because I will never use it again after this process, but I think using a bucket will be fine. It's an old one anyway, which was being thrown out. Just need to make sure it's nice and clean, hasn't got bits in it. And then I've got a bucket for cleaning my trowel and my blade off as well. What I've done so far is I've gone round all the screws, made sure that all the screws are flush, well not flush, in fact bedded in deeper where necessary. If we've got a bit that a taper, I think they call it, where it comes in and it's sort of flush in line, it's not too much of an issue, but again you still perhaps want to just bury it past the paper. But obviously this gets built out. The bit which I'm most concerned about doing is where we have a butt joint. Now a butt joint is where you have two non-tapered edges joining up, so when we do these obviously there's going to be a slight sort of bow in it almost, but it has to be very minimal, so the amount of material we use to do that section is going to be very low. I'm going to start on this wall first. It just seems like the easiest wall to do. This one's obviously got a window, so doing small sections, and there's loads of built up bits there, but I'm not concerned about that. It is where you do have a butt joint. What you want to do is get a blade and just cut a V shape so you can get some compound behind it. That will prevent it from cracking, so we will be doing that where necessary. What I'm going to do starting off though is just a simple job by filling in all of these screw holes, to get those all filled and gone. Then we will work on the tapered edges, and then we'll do the butt edges, but there's no butt joints on this wall, so that'll be the ceiling, this wall, and that's it. So what I'll do is I'm going to start getting my compound mixed up. My understanding is that we need it as a relatively not runny consistency, but almost like a porridge, a medium porridge, where if you turn it sort of to the side, it will slowly run off. You don't want it too thick and you don't want it too runny, so right, to be honest, I probably didn't have enough faith in myself, and perhaps should have got the 40-minute version, but This is the first one we've done on the tape and joint, and it's still drying out, but it's drying out very well. That tape is really bonded in there, very nice. So I wasn't too sure on it at first, but yeah, really impressed. So we'll continue letting these dry out. All the walls are done by this one and this one. Right guys, so we're continuing on. I've sort of had a bit of a break and sort of kind of started letting it dry out, and I'm really pleased actually. It's actually starting to dry out better than I expected on the first couple of areas. So this one should start sanding down pretty well, and then I think we'll have a nice flat finish on that one. See, as you can see, there's no gaps. Beautifully done, so I'm really happy with that, and there's no rock on that either. This is the second one, again, no gap and no rock, so that's beautifully smooth. Wait for it all to dry out nicely, then we can get it skimmed. I've also done this corner bit. I feathered it out a bit more. I might give it one more feather out just to really line it up and get it pushed out and as smooth as possible. But really happy with the outcome of that bit so far and the corner bits. I've really thought about it, and I'm really in two minds whether to do the corner, because as I said, it's all going to get covered anyway, and if I do it, essentially the tape is going to come past further than the bit that is getting covered, and what that means is that I'm then going to have to fade it in a bit more, which I don't really want to be bothered doing. So I think I'm going to leave it, just tidy it up, leave that. It's just going to be more work than I actually need to do. I know dotting the I's and crossing the T's would have been beautiful, but there's no point, not for what I want to do anyway, so we'll leave it as. Right, we've now changed that board over, as you can see, a lot tidier. It's got a tapered edge on it as well, so we can skim that in a bit nicer. It's just a fresher board. We haven't got so much damage to it, so it's going to be easier to look after in the long term. Just going to take off this excess bit there so that doesn't start pulling out, and then get this taped and jointed. Right guys, that is a tape and jointing wrap. So finished all the tape and jointing, relatively happy. The only bit I'm not happy with is this bit, because it's got a bit of a blister in it, which is a bit annoying. Don't know how I'm going to rectify it. I might have to put a slit in it and then just go over it again ever so slightly, but that is the only one. Gone round them all and I'm really happy with the outcome and finish of them all. Obviously I'm going to have to get it out again to finish off in here, but this is a relatively small area, small straight, but that's overall it's okay. This one does need a top coat, but still waiting for that bottom coat to dry. Now I was really hoping I could crack on with some sanding today, but it's still drying out. I don't want to be a bit too premature with it, so I'm going to let it dry out and start sanding tomorrow, but I'm just really pleased. I've opted not to tape and joint the corners, because what you'll see later on in the project is that there's going to be a bead all the way around, so it doesn't necessarily need to be done, but overall it has come out really nice. Really happy with it. it was easier than I expected, but I wasn't expecting it to be easy. But it's not easy, you just got to take your time with it. I got the 60-minute mix. To be honest, 40-minute mix could have worked quite well once you really get into the hang of it. You kind of start moving really nice and quickly. Where's that? As we can see here, there's no rock. It is nice and solid all the way, so really happy with that. This again is pretty solid. There's a slight rock here where the deviation changes ever so slightly. What I'll do is have to sand down that centerpiece. Hopefully that'll iron it out, but it's relatively straight and sharp, so overall I'm happy with it. Hopefully it can dry. I really hope it starts drying out today, really, because I would like to start sanding it, and then I can put my base coat down. So it's a plasterboard sealer, and what it does is if you put 2 coats of it, it acts as a vapor barrier, but if you put a single coat on, it doesn't, but it will prevent, when you paint the walls, seeing a deviation in color. So essentially when it dries, you'd still be able to see the lines even though they're not there because of the different type of backing material. So it acts as an overall sealer. So I'm going to head down to Wix. I think Wix should have some. I'm going to go and grab me some of that now. But yeah. Right, so my sanding pole finally arrived. So I'm going to crack on with the sealing. This is a 240 grit. I've got a 120. I think I'm going to use the 120 on some of the rougher edges. The ceiling's not quite as smooth as the walls were. It's a difficult angle. But yeah, we'll crack on, see how we get on.